movement of oil across the world is a strategic factor to the major industries of the advanced nations. We asked the chairman of London Tanker Brokers Panel, who is also the chairman of World Scale, to assess the utility of petroleum to modern industrialization.
That's the most important thing they can have. Without crude oil, you can't make products. Without products, you can't run an industry. So crude oil is elementary in all majorities of all the major producing countries. Yes, it's very important.
And also the transport of it is also very...
Well, of course, it's no good just in the ground where it comes out. You've got to take it to where it's going to be marketed and refined. So transportation is of a prime importance, and safe transportation is even more important.
So how important are the people who make sure that it is transported, the shipbrokers and the agents?
Well, the shipbrokers and the agents, of course, are the people that know of owners that do run safe ships. So they're able to intervene and bring forward the right kind of ships that you're looking for. So yes, it's terribly important.
It's no illusion, running out of time. There must be something we can do to make it right. Oh, why can't we open up our eyes? There's no more time for confusion. There's only love to help us find a way. Let's take the life that we're given and try to make a brighter day instead of throwing it away. We're all in this together.
At the international level, a nation whose oil is being lifted exclusively by foreign tanker operators is still on the road, hopefully traveling to freedom.
During the Persian Gulf crisis, when Iraq had broken ranks with the rest of the world, her commerce, including petroleum, was no longer safe business for foreign tanker operators, more or less because of United Nations sanctions. What was left of her hope returned to vessels owned by Iraq. If it were a Nigerian case, especially now with her rising continental importance, a foreign effective embargo or widespread hostility within the sub-region would mean that with no Nigerian tankers, nor nationally controllable tonnages, the bedrock of our economy, petroleum, could be frozen in limbo, impossible to be lifted abroad for foreign exchange.
In Saudi Arabia, at the time of the recent Gulf War, the indigenous shipping company, Vela International Marine, had to do a quick deal to hire additional 6 large tankers from Concordia Maritime AB of Germany. These vessels being badly needed to support oil deliveries during the hot war.
How do you feel when you meet foreign counterparts and they know that you're not able to be in a tanker trade in your own country?
Well, I feel embarrassing, but I have confidence. I have confidence because the president of this country has done a lot to the shipping industries. He has helped us a lot, and he's still doing so. Our only worry at the moment is some of the relevant ministries are frustrating his efforts.
Well, the first thing anybody starting a new business, of course, it's got to get experience. And Nigeria or wherever, Saudi Arabia has to admit that at the beginning it has little experience. So the best thing, of course, is to go into partnership. Start with somebody else that does have the ability to run ships, has the ability to crew. Make a deal with them to start with. They can then start training your crew, start training your engineers, start training your shore staff. So I think the prime importance in anybody starting new is to get some good partners. And that way you can go forward together.
You mentioned the example of Saudi Arabia. Could you go on for that?
Yes, well, Saudi Arabia, as you know, is the major producer of crude oil in the world. And for many years, people used to just go collect the crude oil, take it to the refinery. But Saudi Arabia decided a few years ago, well, let's participate in carrying some of our own crude oil. So she started a company that now is responsible for carrying great quantities of Saudi Arabian crude oil. But they didn't have any business, so they went to some friends and started some training schemes, and are doing it that way, exactly the same way that Kuwait started some 20 years ago.
When we started the produce, they said that the humidity, these and all the specifications, they are all there. We carried them that time without any problem. You just have to know the specification of the crude oil you are going to carry, and get the right tanker. You just don't go to tanker market to say, give me a tanker. You have to know the quantity, you have to know the quality. There are so many tankers that are laid up now. You know what is the meaning of laid up? That they have no business. If you go to any shipyard, they will show your order, knowing that it's from Nigerian government, a member of the OPEC, and straight away they will give you a tanker. Well, if you fulfill if you come to terms with them.
I'll give you a good example. After independence, we rely so much on British, and everything we have is British, and all our pilots were British in those days. And when the Civil War came, the same argument were brought up that no, they cannot make Nigerians pilot, Nigerians can never be masters of ship, Nigeria can never be this, even though when we were qualified, we were much better than even our British counterparts. But they still feel we could not, and our people buy the idea, and therefore they stuff all the ports everywhere with British. But when the Civil War came, the British had to leave because they cannot even stand the risk of war. And therefore, they were looking for Nigerians. And the Nigerians they have neglected, most of us have gone to foreign ships. You know, it was not easy for us to come back home anymore because they did not give us the opportunity. And the port was completely paralyzed. The government at that particular time have to move to Egypt to go and bring Egyptians to come and start piloting before some of us could arrive and take up this job. And when we came, you will find that it is even Nigerians that were taking ships from Lagos to the war front, to Port Harcourt, to Calabar. The Egyptians themselves will not be able to do it. You know, they don't because of the risk in case they die, but the Nigerians is our country. We cannot run away, you know.
The grand headquarters of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, the NNPC, one of the richest of Africa's successful corporations. It is now the parent of many affiliated ventures spread all over the business of producing crude oil and selling it. It is the selling of crude oil, however, that has given rise to this fame. Nigerian shipping lines having come of age and supported by a 1962 Petroleum Act and the 1987 Shipping Policy Decree seek to be considered to lift crude oil overseas. This fame surveys the international shipping environment, concentrating on questions of ship chartering, marine insurance, oil pollution, and the coastal tanker service.
Why would your company sponsor and support the tanker trade documentary?
Since the inception of this company of bulk ship 5 to 6 years ago, our goal objective was to eventually carry crude oil. And bulk ship is sponsoring and supporting this objective because of the amount of money involved. These are 9 billion naira business, which if the national carriers are allowed to partake in the transportation, it will bring maybe 2-3 billion naira, it will be circulated back into our economy. And also, would like the policymakers and the public at large to know that with the national carriers being allowed to partake in this business, it will help the country, in general.
My company is one of the earliest comers into the shipping industry in Nigeria. And by today, we feel crude oil carriage in Nigeria is a good venture that the policymakers should allow us to go into And by this documentary, we are telling the world what it involves in the carriage of crude oil in Nigeria. And I think by now, policymakers should be able to let it go.
As big multinationals become increasingly similar,
The business of multinational oil companies in the petroleum industries of developing nations was addressed by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, in 1968. In its resolutions on the day, OPEC called on its members to take up controlling shares in the operations of foreign oil companies in their respective countries.